Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The World Health Organization has reported a record one-day rise in the number of new coronavirus infections, with 307,930 reported over 24 hours. The agency said that deaths rose by more than 5,500, bringing the global total to 917,417. The biggest increases in infections were reported in India, the US and Brazil. Worldwide, there have been more than 28 million confirmed cases, half of which have been in the Americas. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced the country will enter a new 3-week nationwide lockdown after a second wave of cases. Israel is the first country to formally enter a new lockdown phase. Israelis will have to stay within 500 meters of their houses, but can travel to workplaces that will be allowed to operate on a limited basis. Mr. Netanyahu also announced a new economic package to assist businesses hurt by the new lockdown. Alexander Lukashenko, the contested Belarus leader, has arrived in the Russian city of Sochi for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. It will be their first face-to-face meeting since protests escalated in Belarus last month, following the disputed presidential election. The opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya has said she regretted what she called Mr. Putin's dialogue with a dictator. Mr. Putin recognizes Mr. Lukashenko as the legitimate president of Belarus and says he has a Russian police force ready to intervene if protests get out of control. There is speculation he may want closer ties in exchange for continued support. Japan's governing party has elected Yoshihide Suga as its new leader to succeed Shinzo Abe, meaning he is almost certain to become the country's next prime minister. Mr. Suga serves as chief cabinet secretary in the current administration and was widely expected to win. Last month, Mr. Abe announced his resignation for reasons of ill health. Mr. Suga is considered a close ally of Mr. Abe and likely to continue his predecessor's policies. Microsoft has announced its offer to buy the US operations of the popular video sharing app TikTok has been rejected, paving the way for Oracle to secure a last-minute deal. China's foreign ministry has reacted, saying that TikTok is being encircled and coerced into the sale. US President Donald Trump gave September the 15th deadline for the Chinese-owned app to sell or shut down in the United States. The Trump administration claims TikTok and other Chinese apps are national security threats. 2 more laboratories have confirmed Russia's government critic Alexei Navalny was poisoned with the Soviet-style nerve agent Novichok. Germany has also called for Russia to cooperate with the investigation. Special labs in Sweden and France have confirmed the initial results from Germany. Asked why Russia's request for Navalny's samples was being ignored, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman said Russia has all the information and samples it needs for an analysis. Violence has erupted on the streets of Colombia, with demonstrators clashing with officers during a protest against police brutality. Police used tear gas on demonstrators while they threw rocks at officers as anger spilled over in the center of the capital, Bogotá. Meanwhile, the mayor of Bogotá, Claudio Lopez, begged forgiveness and called for reconciliation after protests in Colombia's capital the past week left 10 civilians dead and hundreds injured. Landslides triggered by torrential rain have swept through 2 villages in Nepal, killing at least 12 people. 10 died and 21 are missing after a massive landslide swept away homes in a village near the border with the Tibet region of China, while 2 others died in a landslide in the northwest of the country. The latest fatalities took the death toll from landslides and flash floods in the exceptionally rainy monsoon season to 314. Hundreds of Argentines have protested in the capital Buenos Aires over a number of alleged injustices. Demonstrators protested against the government of Alberto Fernandez and what they say is the mismanagement of the country's economy and newly proposed judicial reform. Argentina's economy was in a deep crisis already before the pandemic hit, but the health crisis is now expected to shrink it by around 12% this year, driving millions of people into poverty. And finally, a spectacular Northern Lights display has illuminated the Finnish city of Rovaniemi. Seen in the Arctic region of Lapland, the spectacular lights shimmered for several hours in the early hours of Monday morning. September is one of the best times to see the lights, which are also known as Aurora Borealis. More dazzling displays are expected in the coming weeks. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel studios in Lagos.